Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, today we're in Queensland, Australia in this Polestar 2 and we're going to try and figure out if you should buy one or not. Let's get started. On the face of it, buying one of these used is quite an appealing proposition. You see, in the UK, prices start at just £12,500. That's an awfully modern and appealing car for £12,500, don't you think? I mean, in fairness, you'll have to spend around £15,000 to get yourself a decent one, but still, what you get for 15k is a stylish, practical car with a decent interior, decent performance, and most importantly, a decent range. Just to give you a bit of background in case you haven't heard of Polestar, Polestar are actually Volvo's luxury electric division. The Polestar 1 was a beautiful svelte coupe which only sold in limited numbers. This Polestar 2, however, was sold in much bigger numbers, and it's been around since 2020. I've been driving this now for a couple of days, and I've been trying to put myself in the shoes of a used EV buyer. I think if I were in the market for a used EV, then I'd have three questions. How long does it take to charge? What's the range like? And does it feel like a normal car? You know, does it feel like an ICE car? Okay then, let me try and answer those for you. Well, firstly, charging times vary massively. If you're planning to charge this on a domestic socket, then you'll miss all your appointments and probably die of boredom or old age, because it takes something like 30 hours. Imagine that, a day and a half just to charge your car. But realistically, nobody's going to do that, are they? If you've got a home charger, then it'll charge overnight in around 10 hours, but your best bet is to use one of those public fast chargers. That way it'll go from 10% back to 80% in around half an hour. So it's on par with all of its rivals. That's the first question answered then. On to the second, the range. Again, there's no straight answer here because the range varies depending on which model you go for. The base model uses a single electric motor, so it's just two-wheel drive. And on the pre-facelift Polestar 2, that motor powered the front wheels. Then on the post-facelift, that motor drives the rear wheels, making it rear-wheel drive. And there are two variants of that single motor version, so there's a standard range or a long range. Or you could also buy the Polestar 2 with a dual motor, which effectively makes the car four-wheel drive. The dual motor version was exclusively sold with the long range battery, so that means you not only get a better range, but you also get better performance. I'll put these figures on screen for you just to make it a little bit easier to follow because it can be a tad confusing. The base model with a single motor and standard range will get you just over 200 miles range in the real world. The official figures claim a little bit more than that, but I found them to be a tad optimistic. The long range model with the bigger battery will get you around 25 or 30 miles more than that. The facelift model came out in 2023 and they improved the range by about 20%, so it's quite a significant improvement. So that answers the question on range. So you've got my final question, does it feel like an ordinary car? I'm aware this might just be a bit of a me question, but on the off chance you're a technophobe like me, then I thought it was worth answering. I'm not a huge EV fan, and to be honest, I'm not really a techie person. I'm only in my 30s and I grew up with computers, so I'm not a complete caveman. I just don't like technology. Everything that I've got now in my life that's supposed to make my life easier doesn't. It just never seems to work. So the last thing that I want is to get into a car that feels like a giant computer. Take for example the Tesla Model 3. That's just a car I can't gel with. You don't get a key, you don't even get a gear selector. It's all buried in the touchscreen. That's not what I want. Call me old-fashioned, but I like a car to have a door handle, a key, a gear selector. I'm not asking too much. So that's what I mean by that. Does the Polestar 2 feel like a normal car? Well, I'm happy to report it does. If you were to blindfold me, which probably wouldn't be a good idea because I'd probably crash into that Holden Ute in front, then I'd swear I was just in an ordinary Volvo. It's very quiet, like you'd expect from an EV because there's no noisy engine, but it just feels like a Volvo. It feels nice and ordinary. Everything's where you'd expect it to be, which is exactly what I want. I don't want to have to download another app. I'm aware that I'm probably turning into a grumpy old man, but everything these days requires a new app. I don't want to download a new app. Just give me a key, an ordinary key. So yeah, to answer the third question in a concise way, the Polestar 2 feels like a car. You know, to start this, for example, you just walk up to it, pull on the door handle, because all Polestar 2s come with keyless entry, get in it, there's no start button, and you simply select drive or reverse, and away you go. It's as easy as that. No fumbling around trying to find the start button, no putting the key in the ignition, none of that stuff. Just get in it, put it in D, and away you go. Simple as that. Before we continue with today's review, I just need to say a big thank you to today's video sponsor, Car Vertical. Before you hand over any cash for a used car or motorbike, it's really important that you do a thorough vehicle history check. And with Car Vertical, that couldn't be easier. All you need to do is go to carvertical.com, type in the reg or the VIN, and away you go. And by the way, this isn't just a UK thing, it works in 35 different countries. So if you've had a prang in Prague or a bash in Bruges, this will tell you. In addition to telling you if the car's ever been stolen, written off, had a mileage rollback, or hasn't signed finance on it, it shows you all the MOT history, the average market value, the spec, the ownership changes, the reg plate changes, and a whole lot more. It's really easy to use. All you do is go to carvertical.com and type in the reg or the VIN. And don't forget, if you use my promo code HIGHPEAK, that's HIGHPEAK all one word, HIGHPEAK, you'll save yourself 20% off each and every check that you do. And you can use that promo code as many times as you like. So thanks Car Vertical for sponsoring today's video. Right, back to the Polestar 2. Because Polestar is a division of Volvo, all the buttons and switches feel nicely familiar. The multifunction steering wheel is wrapped in nice high quality leather. You've got the switches and mirror buttons here straight out of a Volvo. In fact, the folding mirrors are exactly the same as you'd get in a Aston Martin or a Land Rover. After spending just 30 seconds in this car, I knew where everything was. Nothing was hidden or confusing. I didn't have to take a night school class in coding or computing. So far then, the Polestar 2 is scoring quite well. In terms of its appearance, then it isn't the prettiest car ever made, but it's quite stylish. I don't hate it, I think it looks alright. I love the lights you get at the front. You get those Volvo style Thor's hammer lights. They look really cool. I also really like the lights you get at the back. You get this full horizontal strip and it looks nice and futuristic. The front grille looks quite pretty too. I do prefer the front grille on the pre-facelift, to be honest, rather than the post-facelift where it went all smooth like a Hyundai Kona. But still, it looks alright. I also like the big diamond cut wheels. It sits nicely. The only thing I would say, if I were to be critical, which I must, is it's a bit anonymous. I know Polestar's a new brand, but you wouldn't really know what it was. It doesn't stand out from the crowd. Of course, it probably doesn't help that this car's in a neither one thing nor the other colour. It's like a bluey grey colour. Doesn't look that good. I've seen them all black with blacked out windows, and they do look quite cool. It's got that stealth look about it, so that's probably what I'd go for personally. But each to their own. Styling's subjective, isn't it? I quite like the way 3/4 of this car looks. For me though, the back end lets it down. If you look at the side profile, that back quarter just doesn't really work. It looks a bit unfinished. I'm obviously not a vehicle designer, but I wouldn't have signed that off. I just don't think it looks great, to be honest. I mean, you might like that, and that's fine. At least on the bright side, it doesn't look as geeky as a Tesla Model 3. Again, this sort of looks like an ordinary car, which is good. I've just seen a sign there that says watch out for koala bears, which isn't something I'm used to seeing in the Peak District. The other good thing with the Polestar 2 is that it isn't a crossover SUV like everything else on the road. Instead, it's just a large 5-door hatch. And that comes with its benefits. So for example, you get a decent sized boot at 405 litres. That figure increases to nearly 1100 litres if you fold down the two rear seats. They fold down in a 60-40 split. So it is quite a spacious car, this. And that isn't its only boot either. You've also got a front boot, or a fruit chute, or a frunk. That one is considerably smaller at only 40 litres, but it's somewhere handy to put your charging leads or screen wash. In terms of interior space on this car, then it doesn't score that well, to be honest. Up front it's okay, you get plenty of headroom, plenty of elbow room. Legroom isn't great though. Because this centre console spreads out into a V shape, it does eat into your knee room. If we move to the back seats, the story gets worse. Because of its slopey roof, headroom isn't great. If you're over 6 foot tall, you will struggle in this. There's also a large hump in the middle of the floor, so your middle passenger in the back won't be very comfortable. On the bright side though, the driving position's very good, the seat's very comfortable, forward visibility's perfect. Although I would quite like a pan roof because it is a bit dark in here, especially with this dark headliner. It's alright though, it's pretty good. The other good thing is, it's a little bit higher this car, so you get more ground clearance, and it's a bit easier to get in and out of. I love the frameless door mirrors and the rear view mirror. They feel nice and Scandinavian. I also love all the different materials they've used inside. This would definitely benefit though from a glass roof. It would just let an awful lot more light in. I should explain though that a panoramic glass roof is available, but for that you need to go for something called a Plus Pack. With the Plus Pack, that comes with a roof, a Harman Kardon stereo and heated rear seats. You see, this one just has them up front. Now this particular model doesn't come with the Harman Kardon, but the ordinary stereo is really good. Bit of LaRue there. But no, I've been quite impressed with the sound quality, so that wouldn't be something that I specifically needed, but a nice pan roof would definitely help. All versions of the Polestar 2 came with enough features so you wouldn't feel shortchanged, but I'd expect more from a company like this. All Polestar 2 models, including this base, came with things like a power tailgate, heated front seats, rain-sensing wipers, keyless entry. But weirdly, you don't get things like a 360 camera or autonomous driving, which I just find strange. From a brand new, supposedly pioneering EV company, you just expect more as standard. If they're going to seriously rival all these brand new Chinese companies, then they better up the game. I mean, take a look at this reverse camera. In fact, let me show you. It looks like an afterthought. It looks like the facelift version of a car that's been running for 5 years and they thought, oh quick, we need to put a reverse camera on it. Let's order one. Have a look at this. It's mounted so low down that you can see the license plate, you can't see much of anything else, and it's not particularly helpful. They could have and should have done much better than that. Looks like an afterthought. Looks like an aftermarket camera. Overall, the car is quite a nice place to be. The seats are nice and comfortable. You can adjust them in many ways. You've got lumbar support and electric base. I also like the digital gauge cluster. Everything's nice and easy to read and understand. You get this 11-inch infotainment touchscreen, which is nice and easy to operate, although it does quickly get littered with fingerprints, but there's no way to avoid that really. But the clarity is good, the quality is good, the font they've used is good. The only thing that's disappointing is the CarPlay is wired rather than wireless. But I like the fact they've given me a volume knob rather than some fiddly touchscreen thing. That's good. Everything feels really good quality, to be honest. And considering this is just a rental car from the airport that's done 45,000 kilometres, everything's held up pretty well. I do wish there were another cup holder though, rather than just one. I know there's another one inside this centre console here, but I'd like to have an armrest and 2 cup holders. You can also change the settings of the regen braking to make it more fierce. I'll turn that off straight away. I don't really like this whole one pedal driving, but just to demonstrate, if we put it back to standard, the minute you take your foot off the accelerator, then it will come to a halt. Like I say, I like to turn that off completely. I also turned creep on so that when you're in traffic, it will creep forward. This has got a nice auto hold feature though, so a bit like a Mercedes, all you do is press the brake pedal firmly and it will keep you in your place. It's quite handy that at traffic lights or a drive-through. You can also change the feel of the steering. So I've got it on light right now, which is nice and light, which for this kind of car is what you want. But if we change it over to firm now, then it suddenly becomes an E53 X5. It actually handles really well, this. And although this is a base model with a single motor, it'll still do 0 to 62 in around 7.5 seconds, so it's quick enough. It never feels fast, but it's adequate. I know I've said this before, but the whole car feels like a Volvo. It feels very sturdy and tight. One criticism though, the ride is a little bit firmer than I was expecting. You do kind of bounce over potholes in this. These curvy mountain roads here, I'm somewhere near Tambourine, I think, not far from Surfers Paradise, Gold Coast. They are nice and twisty, but this car has sort of thrown me all over the place. The minute you hit a bump in the road, you get some air. It's not that bad, but it's not as soft and squishy as I'd perhaps like. It's not uncomfortable, it just surprised me that it was a bit on the firm side. Back to performance then. If you go for the dual motor version, then you can shave like 3 seconds off its 0 to 62 time. That one will do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in like 4.5 seconds. So that one will feel properly quick. This one though, oh, bit of wheel spin there. It's not slow. It feels quicker than those figures suggest. In terms of safety, then you can tell this is related to Volvo because it scored top marks at Euro NCAP. It scored the maximum 5 stars and you get Isofix seats at the back. So this is a safe place to put your children. In terms of reliability, because let's face it, you might have your doubts about buying a used EV, although the car itself was only covered for 3 years or 60,000 miles, whichever came first, the battery was covered for 8 years. That's quite reassuring really. See what I mean about the firm ride? It nearly took off. If I were in the market for a cheap used EV with a decent range, then the Polestar 2 is definitely worth considering. It looks like a normal car, it drives like a normal car, it's nice and practical, it does have quite a lot going for it. Personally though, I'd be tempted to spend an extra couple of grand and get something like a Jaguar I-Pace or a Kia EV6. But each to their own, this is still a really good option for somebody. So hopefully that's helped you with your buying decision. Well, I think, ladies and gents, that is about it. I can't think of anything else to tell you really. I think we've discussed it all. But let me know in the comments below if you've owned one, or had a good experience with one, or a bad experience with one for that matter, because I am intrigued. And on that note, thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I'll leave the links below. And yeah, see you next time. Cheers, guys.